Ryan, how you doing?
Hey, Will. How are you?
Good, good.
Good.
Um, Something that caught my attention yesterday in the post-game news conferences was, and I'm not sure. I mean, I don't know the inner workings of football and how the relationships between quarterbacks and receivers work, but Stephon Diggs and Josh talked about how um, Josh said he doesn't. He just demands a receiver to get open, and he'll find him, rather than demanding that he get to a spot or a marker on some plays. Is that unusual when it comes to quarterback and receiver relationships, especially in the first year, or how does that? How is that? In your experience, how has that worked in your experience?
Well, I think that's dependent on the quarterback and the receiver. Now, I've been around guys that, kind of say the same thing that Josh said, a la Favre and Brady and guys like that. And I'm not certainly not comparing Josh to either one of those guys. I think it depends on the coverage too. There's a lot of things that go into it, John. There's man coverages where that's probably a little bit more true than if it's zone coverages, and you got to have good distribution in the passing game. But ultimately, what we tell our wideouts and our skilled players is, your main job is to get open and catch the ball, and the quarterback's main job is to make a good decision and throw it accurately and on time. And a 9-yard stop versus a 6-yard stop, whatever it may be, I think that's predicated a little bit on coverage and how we're getting played too. But the good ones, the good tandems that work together, and that's just not with Steph, it's with Bees and when Smoke's back and Gabe and our tight ends and our backs. It's Josh's job to deliver the ball where it's supposed to be, and it's those guys' job to get open and catch it. It's about as simple as we can make it.
And just as a follow-up, is it more critical to have that type of relationship to get open when you have a quarterback like Josh who's mobile and can extend plays with his feet in scrambling out of danger?
Yeah, I think the timing of the passing game relative to his drop and where he needs to throw it, and then when you start talking about scrambling, that's a little bit different too. Because then there's scramble rules that come into play. Usually the play is extended, and you're going to have to ad lib a little bit. I just think that those guys have been doing a good job of doing what we require, which is that, and Josh is doing a good job of finding them. They have good chemistry, good relationship. We just got to continue to keep working on it. And, I know they understand the ones that we got to be, pretty precise in terms of, when we are getting our zone coverages and the spacing and the depths and how important those things are. And when it's man, they're going to have to do a good job of winning.
Great. Thanks.
Thanks, War.
Coach Daboll, Mookie Arkansas Full Sports 1080. How you doing today, sir?
Afternoon, Mook. How are you?
I'm good. Rumor has it was you on the phone with Coach Belichick asking him did he still wanted to play chess when he threw the phone down there. But you guys were coming out aggressive. They played real clean football. How impressed were you with their level of execution last night?
Well, that's what we try to do on every game. That's, we're all professionals. We work really hard during the week of studying our opponent and putting together a plan and then going out there and practicing it. And, at the end of the day, it comes down to executing, and you got to give the players all the credit in the world for going out there and doing it. Played a good, clean, solid game. We didn't have any turnovers. Could have had a couple where the ball came out, but ended up getting on them. And the first game without any pre-snap penalties, which has, been our Achilles heel here. So we got to continue to build off that.
Absolutely, Coach. And no matter who plays this week, how important is it to finish the division undefeated?
Well, it's just important because we're trying to win one game here, Mook. That's our, that's what we live by. That's what gotten us to this point, and that's what we're going to continue to do is prepare for a really good team that's, the best on third down, the top 5 red zone defense, the best in scoring defense. Very well coached by Boyer and Flores there and the rest of those guys on that staff. So, not a lot of sleep last night, which is usually the case on an away game, Monday night game, and got to get back to it.
Absolutely, Coach. I know you had your chessboard ready. Good luck this week.
Thanks, Mook. Appreciate you.
Hey, Brian, Heather Prusek here. Good to see you.
Hi, Heather.
Um,
Representing Hamburg?
I am.
Hamburg
Yes,
lacrosse,
yes,
okay.
yes, yes.
Okay, I got
Yep,
it.
go Bulldogs.
Yeah.
Last night after the game, Stefan said that he thinks that he's just scratching the surface as to what he can do with Josh Allen. What is it like to hear a guy like that say something like that, especially after all that these two have been able to accomplish so far this season?
Yeah, I think they got the right mindset. We're not where we need to be. You're trying to get better each week. There's certainly things that we all could have done better last game. We're really focused on our process and committed to trying to be the best versions that we can be. And that's tough. That's a week-to-week day. That's a week-to-week deal for all those guys. And it's just good to have a hungry mindset, a growth mindset of trying to improve every day and work at your craft. And, those guys certainly do that during the week. They've been pretty consistent with their approach since they've been here together. And that's what you look for is consistency.
Guys talk about all the time, and even you guys as coaches talk about wanting to play your best football in December and January as the playoffs are just around the corner. I know you said that you still have things to work on, but do you think this offense is peaking at the right time? Like, do you think that?
I think we're playing good football, but again, you can play good football one week. That really has nothing to do with the next week. It's about what you do leading up to that game. All the work you put into it, which is a lot. It's a lot of work by the assistant coaches. It's a lot of work by the players, both mentally and physically. And then at the end of the day, you got to go out there and execute it when the lights are on. And, again, credit to the players. They've had a really good mindset. They don't let bad plays affect them. They stick together. They work together. They have good chemistry. That doesn't guarantee you're going to win or put up, 40 points or whatever it is every week, but certainly gives you a chance. And the mindset, that they have, I certainly appreciate.
Thanks. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Good afternoon, Brian. How are you?
Hey, Mike. How's it going?
Hey, it was good to see you last night. I think the public needed to see you all dressed up like that post-game. I mean, you were scholarly looking.
Yeah, yeah.
Exactly. Hey, we talk a lot about Stefan and his physical gifts. Are we not talking enough about his mental acumen for the game and his ability to, understand leverage and how teams are trying to play him and get open?
Yeah, and I don't know exactly what's being said about Steph. I'm happy we have him, and I know there's a lot of guys on this team that are happy to have him. He's a really good player, and he's good physically, and he is good mentally. He's smart. We use him in a lot of different roles. We put him in a lot of different positions. He plays outside, single receiver. He plays, as a flanker with the tight end. He plays in the slot. He plays at a number 3 spot. We ask him to do a lot. We wouldn't ask him to do it if he couldn't do it. So that requires a good skill set physically, but it also requires a tremendous ability to process information at different spots and be able to do it in a timely fashion. So he's, again, just credit Brandon and Joe and the rest of those guys, Demo, of getting him here. He's been a great addition for us.
And just lastly for me, the work of Dawson Knox, are you feeling as though he can create some mismatch opportunities with his ability to run and, some of the skill sets that he has and brings to the table?
Yeah, he's a lot like the younger players that we have. He's been getting better each week. What was good to see is, he had that drop down there in the end zone, and we came back to him just a few plays later on a big seam ball, and then he made the scramble catch. And, I think it's important to show confidence in your guys, and we have confidence in him. He's done a good job improving these last few weeks, and we're going to need him to continue to do that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hey, Brian, it's John.
Hey, John.
In regards to you guys clearly are really in a good groove here week to week offensively. I know it's not your decision and you're not going to make a call like that, but is there ever a concern, whether it's with any sort of a disruption, whether it's guys are out or it's the bye week, of disrupting that flow, especially heading into the playoffs?
Yeah, that's why we kind of do what we do since training camp. That's why we move guys all over the place, or we put guys in different positions, or sometimes there's a guy that doesn't practice. You're going to deal with whatever you're going to deal with throughout the season, which has been a long season to this point, and we've certainly dealt with different things at different positions. That's the NFL, John. That's what it is. So you got to be ready to go. Whoever's ready to play, whenever they're ready to play, and go out there and put your best foot forward. But that's
Sean,
deal with. That's something that you deal with since training camp. And that's kind of the makings of a team that builds mental toughness. It builds team chemistry. It builds adaptability in terms of position flexibility. So all those things that we talk about early in the season, when those things happen, or why is this guy playing guard and now he's playing center, or this receiver's playing this, or that's why you do all those things.
Sorry for interrupting you.
Oh, that's okay.
Lastly, Sean was extremely complimentary of Davis Webb, and he's someone that I know we are the few that get to see everything that he does in practice. I mean, he's not even just a quarterback. He plays all these different roles. How unique and what is it that Davis brings besides just being a practice squad quarterback?
I could go on and on about this guy. He's a tremendous teammate. He is very unselfish, and he's a developing quarterback in this league that was picked, I believe, in the third round and has bounced around. But you talk about he's one of the best teammates I've ever seen. He'll work on special teams if he needs to work on special teams, or work on a defensive show team. He does an unbelievable job of helping Josh prepare for games, and spends a lot of time with Shea and going through the team we're about to play. And he just has his hands in so many different things for us. He's such a valuable part to our team. Albeit he's not playing obviously, but the things he does behind the scenes, the way he interacts with the different position groups, he's fantastic.
You said he's the best teammate, arguably, you've ever seen. I mean, truly, how unique is it that especially a guy at his position, at quarterback, does all of this stuff and is so open to all of it?
Yeah, no, he's unique. He's unique. He's a great, and he's a very important part of our football team. He's a very, very important part of a football team. Those guys that are out there playing and getting all the stats and doing all those things, obviously we're happy they're on our team because they're providing what we need to provide on game day. But he does so many things behind the scenes that you can ask any one of his teammates. He's an awesome guy.
Thanks, Daves.
Thank you.
Hey, Brian.
Hey, Matt.
Obviously, with Cole being week to week, you start to think about, potentially not having him for a stretch. And he's had such an unbelievable season. And I know it's kind of a cliche question to sit here and ask, what would it be like without Cole Beasley? But, there's a lot of guys that have stepped in, for guys that have gone down. How confident are you in that group that no matter who goes down, somebody, can step in and get the job done?
Yeah, it's kind of, Matt, like I was just talking about to John. It's why you do all those things in training camp. And throughout the season, there's a variety of different personnel packages, some with different guys, tight ends or receivers, or all the guys that we have on our team. I said this before when we first started talking about this, when we were developing our rosters. The guys that are here are meant to be here, and they're meant to contribute whenever we need them to contribute. We have confidence in all of them.
And Isaiah McKenzie, particularly, I think that, we've talked about him going back to, your first year here, and just his consistent ability to fill in and do what's asked of him, even when it's not a lot. I mean, how impressive is his contributions, as things gone along, and he's gotten a little bit more as time has gone along.
Yeah, and he's earned that, Matt. He's earned it. But again, it goes back to Brandon and Joe and Dan for bringing in smart, tough, dependable players that have an unselfish attitude and are team oriented. And we have a lot of them on our football team. Him being one of them. But he's developed. That's kind of the makings of a young player developing. From week to week and year to year. The more they develop, the more confidence you have in them, the more confidence the quarterback has in them. And he's done that since he's been here. again, another valuable piece to our offense is Isaiah.
Thanks, Brian.
Thank you.
Hey, Brian. Dan Fates in Rochester.
Hey, Dan.
I know it was 4 years ago, but what can you say about Tua from your time with him in Alabama?
Well, he was a true freshman. One, just a good person, really just a great family and very talented. Short time I was around him, had very good talent, accurate, a very instinctive player, had good vision on the field. Someone his teammates and coaches had a lot of respect for. And he was just, he was behind Jalen for a while, and he came in that one game, and he played throughout the season a little bit, but just a really good teammate, good person, and a good player.
Obviously, with him and Fitz kind of going back and forth, are you surprised by the way that Tua can handle this? Knowing him, I know he was a freshman. I know he kind of got thrown into some of those games, but is that something that, knowing him, I know it was just for 1 year, but something that he can handle?
Yeah, I mean, I haven't followed it too much, other than probably what you said. Just we got our other things going on, but Tua is a mentally tough player. I'm certain he can handle a lot of things.
Thanks, Brian.
Thank you.
Hey, Brian, how you doing, man?
Hey, Sal, what's going on?
Was curious because this is the longest tenured, I guess, coordinator spot that you've been in, and so
Sure.
I'm curious how that third year, what differences you've noticed about what you're able to do with this offense. Because as is explained to me, you can't just install a playbook in one season. You can't just install a scheme in one season. That it takes years and years.
Yeah, no, that's a good question. It's not just the plays, it's the players that are in the system, that learn the system, and the system develops on a year-to-year basis based on who you have. Particularly, we try to do, everything we try to do is geared towards Josh and what he does well. And then you see the pieces that you have, and those pieces change from year to year, but you have some consistency, particularly from last year to this year. The first year was, I think 2 of the same starters. But also you have, coaches that you work with. And the guys that I work with, the guys contribute a lot, understand it. They're smart. They have good characteristics, just like the players we talked about in terms of smart, tough, dependable, hardworking, team-first guys that can coach their positions well and have a lot of trust and faith in them. So there's, I've talked about this before. It's the ultimate team game, with the players. It's also the ultimate team game with the coaches. And when you have continuity, it helps. There's no question about it. You can draw from past experiences. So, we can be sitting in a staff meeting and one of the coaches can say, hey, remember 2 years ago we did this on this third down. That's hard to do in the first year. It's hard to do sometimes in the second year. We made a lot of changes from year 1 to year 2 with the coaching staff. We also did it with the players. So, chemistry is really good as long as you have the right kind of guys that you're working with. And that's, again, between Sean and Brandon and the people that they brought in, just very fortunate to work with this group.
It's almost like you might have read my mind a little bit, because I was going to follow up and ask if there was any example of something that happens in year 3 that maybe didn't happen in year 1.
Yeah, those, like I said, those experiences you draw from. The longer you're together, you look at the teams that have won for a long time in this league, the Patriots, the Ravens, the Steelers, the Seahawks, there's a lot of consistency there, and you can grow together and draw from experiences and get better together. And, you have a bunch of guys on your team from year 1 to the next year, and then, you add some more pieces, and those guys can help develop those guys, and you build your leadership and you grow from there.
Perfect. Thanks again, Brian. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Same here.
Hey, Brian, Jordan Barber with Bills.com here. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. Josh has been pretty candid looking back at the Houston game last year and what he took from it. Have there been any instances this year where that experience has maybe benefited his consistency?
Well, I think every every game is an experience for him that benefits him and benefits us since he's played. It's kind of like I was talking about Sell. When you're a young quarterback back in this league, there's so many different things to learn, and how to be a pro and how to acclimate yourself to a team, and how to be a leader, and coverages that you see on certain plays. And the more you can run those plays, the better off you're going to be. And you can draw from past experiences, whatever they may be. It could be a preseason game where you're running a couple plays and then you put them in week 13, or whether it's a playoff game. The more experience that you have as a player, particularly a quarterback, where you're seeing different things and you have similar concepts, and you had it versus this coverage, you had it versus this coverage, I think there's a lot to draw from.
Appreciate it.
Yes, good afternoon, Coach. George Radney, Challenger Community News.
Hey, George.
Great. One quick question for you this afternoon.
Sure.
With Jay Kumerow being released and claimed by the New Orleans Saints, now with Cole Beasley maybe possibly missing some time, does that put some of your other guys, like, for example, Duke Williams, in the mix or something as a possible replacement?
Yeah, well, I think we'll cross that bridge whenever we need to get to it, if we need to get to it. And that's probably a better question for Sean and Brandon. All our guys will be ready to go, whoever that may be. So whenever that time comes, I think that'd be a good question to ask Sean or Brandon.
All right, thank you. Hey, you got a lot
George.
of talent. You got some people to choose from.
Thank you.
Take care.
You too.
Hey, Brian. I was just wondering about Deion Dawkins.
Joe?
Hey, Brian.
I've seen you in a while, Joe.
I know. How you been? So I'm wondering about Deion Dawkins, because it seems like very quietly he's taken a leap forward with what he's done. Last year he really did take a step forward from year 2 to year 3, but this year, being consistency, the confidence, it seems like it's really all taking shape for him this year. Would you tend to agree with that?
Yeah, I mean, I think it goes back to, you're in one place for a while. I think he's built a foundation since he's been here, from the year before I got here to where he is now. And the first year, all I can speak is the first year I was here with him. He's grown in a lot of different areas. Grown as a young man. He's grown as a leader. He's grown and developed his talent. I think Bobby Johnson has been really helpful in his development. He's got a lot of respect for Bobby. He works really hard. He's done a nice job. He's going to continue to need to improve. That spot's a hard spot to play, and the longer you play in a year, the harder it becomes, because usually you're facing some really, really good ones.
All right, one quick one for you. How
Sure.
aware were you when Josh was heading out there 31-9 that he needed one touchdown to pass Jim Kelly?
I wasn't. Look, our job is to go out there and try to score points as many times as we can. He made some really good plays last night. I'm glad to see him. I'm glad to see him get that. He's earned that. Obviously, Jim was one of my favorite players growing up here, and back in the day when I was at St. Francis High School and watching him play, and it's just pretty cool that he's still around. He's still around here and lives in this community, and the type of guy he is. And I know Josh has such a tremendous amount of respect for him. I'm happy for Josh there in that end.
Thanks, Brian.
Thank you.